Good evening and welcome to Three Chord Live. Three Chord Live is an awesome outreach ministry of the Nation of Christ Church in Port Clinton, Ohio, led by my friend and brother Tony Calloway. We have an awesome lineup of teachers, preachers that expound on the too good to be true news of God's unconditional love and unlimited grace. And so on Mondays, we have the tag team duo of Tammy Wilson and Michelle Brown. They do girl power, Batman and Robin, tear the roof off. I don't know what you want to call it, but they tear it up and they actually bring forth some really, really good information that helps us to walk out our lives. On Tuesday, we have my other mother, Elder Mother Paula Curley, who is the head of the Freedom Fighter Cell Group of the Nation of Christ Church. And Mother has the unique ability to bridge the gap between old school church and New Covenant grace. So you don't want to miss her. On Wednesdays, we're excited to have a new addition to our lineup. My friend and sister, Dr. Catherine Toon, will be here on Wednesday nights. And I'm going to tell you something. She wrote a fantastic book called Marked by Love. You can get it on Amazon or you can get it on her website. But whatever you do, get this book because it will absolutely bless your socks off. On Thursday, we have my friend and little brother, Pastor Kyle Butler of New Beginnings Church in Paterson, New Jersey, and somebody who has a singular revelation of the Father's love and showing us who the Father is and what the Father baked into us and showing us what Jesus really came to show us. And he also co-hosts the Grace Line on Monday nights following this broadcast with Pastor Lynn Bennett Jr. of Gem Church in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And then today you have me. I'm Derek Day, and this is Freeology Friday. And in case you haven't known, if you haven't heard, Freeology is either freedom from theology or free theology, depending on where you are on the faith spectrum. And today we're listening to Blue Oyster Cult. I'm burning for you. And I'm going to tell you, I picked this song because there's a chorus in here or a lyric that talks about giving the devil his due. And I'm going to tell you something. That is exactly what we're doing today. Because I said on Facebook earlier, I put a post out there that I'm talking about the devil today because people say, well, Derek, you don't talk about sin enough and you don't talk about hell enough and you don't talk about the wiles of the devil and all of this other stuff. You don't talk about this stuff enough and you need to discuss it more. So in honor of all of my detractors that say I don't talk about these things enough, here you go, homie. Here you go. This is it. And I'm going to tell you something. This is probably one of the most foundational discussions that I'm going to share with you today. I mean, this is absolutely, positively riveting. And I'm so excited to share this. I can barely contain myself. Because here's the deal. There's a passage of scripture that says the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. Man, that's scary. That's really scary. And I want to open up, before I get down too far down the path, I want to share a joke with you. So it's Sunday morning, and all of the people are coming out of church. They're leaving the church building, and all of a sudden the devil shows up right in front of the church steps. And he's big, and he's ugly, and he's scary, and he stinks. And he's got everybody terrified. They're scattering like roaches. There are people just running everywhere. They're trampling over each other. Everybody except this one little old man. And the little old man looks up at the devil, and the devil looks back at the little old man, and he says, "Old man, do you know who I am?" The little old man reaches into his pocket, pulls out a toothpick, sticks it in his mouth. He said, "Yes, sir, I do. Been married to your sister for 42 years. Ha! Bada bing. That's what people think of the devil. They think that he's this big and scary and horns and tail and hooves and oh my, red pajamas. Really, they have the devil mixed up with Hellboy. And frankly, y'all, Hellboy's a superhero, but the devil isn't. And I'm here today to unmask the devil. I want you to see clearly, once and for all, who the devil is. Because once you understand who the devil is, you will never worry about the devil again. You won't have to worry about spiritual warfare. You won't have to worry about, pulling down principalities and power. Listen, all of that stuff, once you understand who your adversary is, then you can defeat him. See, I've always said, I love the enemy that I can see. The enemy that I can see, I can contend with. I can come up with a strategy for how to engage him. But the enemy who I can't see is the enemy that's troubling. So in order to help you, as I've been helped, I want to unmask this enemy for you. Because once you see this, you won't be able to unsee it. And once you see it, it will absolutely change your paradigm. I'm going to promise you something. This is going to absolutely make you look at Sunday morning differently from now on. Now, I have posted on Facebook too, not too long ago, that the first incident of religion was the Tower of Babel. Now, I read this and come to this conclusion based on my own study, because the Tower of Babel, basically they're building an edifice, a church building, if you will, that was dedicated to worshiping God in the way that they thought that they should, right? And so as the story goes, God comes down, confuses their languages, and everybody goes away not really understanding each other. But I digress, because somebody had pointed out to me so kindly in my post, and this was a while back, so I can't remember exactly who it was that pointed this out to me, but they said the religion actually showed up in the garden. And I was like, wait a minute, because I said that there was nothing like religion in the garden. There are no altars, there are no temples, there are no priests, no robes, no vestments, no ornaments, none of that. And there was nothing there except God and his children. Except there was one thing. There was a serpent, it says, that crept into the garden unawares and convinced man and woman that they were not like God. Now let me stop you for a second, because when they were created in the image and the likeness of God, spiritually perfect. And even after they had been formed, they got their earth suits, okay? Even after that, God looked at his creation and said, it was very good. Very good. Now, so here we have man as much like God as he probably could ever be, because he's fresh out of the factory and fresh off the image and fresh off the likeness, everything godly, except the serpent comes in and persuades them otherwise. He tells the woman that if you eat of the tree, that God didn't want you to eat from the tree, because if you did, you would become like him. Now, mind you, we're already like God. And this is the original lie. Are you ready? The original lie is, you are not like God. You are not like God. That's the original lie. And we have bought it hook, line, and sinker. We have been told that in order to be like God, we can't be like God, because his thoughts are higher than ours and his ways are not our ways. We can't be like God. So the best we can hope is to try to be like Jesus, but we're not really like Jesus. We really have to strive and work toward this. We have to press in, and we have to tarry, and we have to do all of these things to get our stuff together with God so that we can be as close to Jesus as possible, even though we can only hope to get asymptotically. That's it. For those of y'all remember your algebra, right? You know, asymptote is something approaches zero but never actually achieves zero. That's an asymptote. But anyway, as we asymptotically approach God or approach Jesus, we never actually quite get there. And the only way you're just going to get closer and closer is to work, and do. And you just get confused. And so all of humanity has been confused by this lie that we are not like God. Now, let me show you something real quick, right? If you go to the book of Exodus, and here Moses is being told by God to go to Pharaoh and to tell Pharaoh some stuff. And so Moses is like, well, you know, the Egyptians have their gods. Who shall I say sent me? And God replies, I am. Tell them that I am sent. That I am sent you. Catch this, because the I am are the two most affirming words that any human being can speak to him or herself. If you say, I am beautiful, then you are beautiful. If you say, I am strong, then you are strong. And if you say, I am ugly, you are ugly. And if you say that you are weak, then you are weak. Now, again, it's only in your own mind, because you are already like God, and there is no limitation that God has. There is no weakness that God has. God has no weaknesses. God has no shortcomings, and you don't either. So here's the deal. Religion shows up in the form of the serpent, and the serpent brings a mindset that tells them to adopt a mindset of the knowledge of good and evil instead of life. Are you with me? Because I believe, this is me, I'm caveating this by saying, this is Derek, that I do not believe that there was a literal serpent in the garden. And I also don't believe that there were literal trees. I believe that the tree of life was the mindset of God, or the mind of Christ, if you will, right? And the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was the knowledge of judgment or religion. Okay? So, here's the deal. The devil, who walks through the earth seeking whom he may devour, who seeks to steal, kill, and destroy, who was with the sons of God when they went before the throne of God. The devil, my friends, is religion. That's right. Very simple. The devil is religion. Because religion, watch this, will tell you that you are not really like God. You're not like God. God is something greater than you could ever imagine. He's infinite. You're finite. He's full of love and you're full of dirt. Do you see what I'm saying? And so what happens is that because we have bought into this lie, every kind of thing that could happen to mankind has happened. Sickness, death, poverty, war. All of these things are byproducts of religion. One of the worst things and I'll hear this all the time, you know, especially when someone dies or someone has been sick for a long time and they die, and they'll say, well, God gave them their ultimate healing. That is the biggest bunch of bullshit, y'all, that I have ever heard. And when people say that to me now, when I first caught the revelation, I was kind of silent about it. But now I'm not silent. I'll call that out, because don't tell me that somebody who has been sick and they die, that they got their ultimate healing. Do not try to pee on my head and tell me it's raining. That's absolute bullshit. You can't tell people that. But that's what religion does. Religion runs the mind game on you. Religion convinces you that you're something that you're not. It was religion that told the man and the woman that they were naked. God asked, who told you were naked? In other words, God didn't give them any awareness of their nudity if they were even nude as we understand it. But it was religion that crept in and convinced them otherwise. See, religion is a manifestation of the mind. It's not even a spirit. You know, we talk about the religious spirit and all that. Y'all dispense of all of that, because it's not a spirit. It's in our minds. Listen, the human brain is capable of some really extraordinary things, and the mind is capable of imagining and creating and all of these different things. But the thing is that if you are not rooted and grounded in love, then your mind will wander into all kinds of crazy directions, and it'll produce all kinds of crazy results. You know, it's just like a lot of times people who believe that they're sick, they will become sick because they have persuaded themselves in their minds that they are. But they're not. The mind becomes so conditioned that it begins to reprogram the body. Do y'all know that scientists cannot actually figure out why people age and die? This is a mystery, because if you cut yourself, your body will attempt to heal itself. No matter what kind of injury, even if you have like a traumatic injury, the body immediately is going to work trying to fix it. The only problem is that sometimes, like, the body can't outrun a gunshot. Okay, so without some kind of surgical intervention, there's no way of fixing it in time, and so the body would die. You follow what I'm saying? Man, religion has so completely screwed humanity. And I'm going to tell you, every single thing that you could think of in humanity, it could be traced back to religion. If you take classism, caste, race, sexual discrimination, discrimination against sexual orientation, all of these things, no matter what it is, war, famine, no matter what it is, there is a trace back, a breadcrumb leading back to religion. Religion has so completely fucked humanity. And we have to get to the point where we awaken and see that this enemy is, my God, there was an old comic strip that used to run. It was called Pogo. And Pogo was this possum that lived in this community of animals. And Pogo was kind of a country bumpkin, but he was really wise. And he made a quote, or the author of Pogo made a quote that was attributed to Pogo the possum, and he said, "We have met the enemy, and he is us." In other words, religion has no power. It has absolutely no power save for that which we give it, that which we assign to it. And here's the problem, is that on any given Sunday morning, Christianity abdicates most, if not all, of its power to religion. You know, see, we're supposed to, when Jesus was walking the earth, he did things that was to show us what we were capable of. It was like when he calmed the storm, when he woke up from his slumber to address the storm that the disciples were afraid of, he asked them first, how long am I going to have to deal with you people? and then he calms the storm. That when they came down from the Mount of Transfiguration and they found the boy who was having seizures, and they were like, we don't know what to do. And Jesus said, look, this kind only comes out by prayer and fasting. He wasn't talking about a demon. And that wasn't the deal. And let me say this while I'm here. That when people cast out demons in the time of Jesus and in the first century church, do you understand that the demons were that was their way of describing physical conditions? Because y'all, hear me, religion has made you believe that there are demons. See, if you can believe that there's a devil, then you can believe that there are demons, because any general's got to have an army, right? And if you puff this guy up to believe that he's something, well, he's got to have an army. He's dragged down a third of the angels with him, right? For Christ's sake. Listen, there were no demons to cast out. It was just people dealing with physical conditions. And what happened was Jesus was showing us how to deal with it. When these things manifest, this is how you deal with it. And again, the demoniac in the Gadarenes, when they crossed the sea after the storm, and they found this guy and he was cutting himself with pot shards and all this, and he says, he casts out a devil, and this devil goes into a herd of pigs, and the pigs go off the side of the cliff. Now watch this. God tells Peter later on that he's made no unclean thing, but somebody, Jesus caused somebody to have an economic calamity. These demons went off into these pigs, and they ran off into the sea. Suppose that the demons were just simply, or not the demons, the pigs were simply made afraid by something, and they ran over the cliff, and people said, oh, Jesus cast out a devil. Do you follow what I'm saying? In other words, this is how people explain things. This is not necessarily how it is. Because, watch, the devil that we have been taught is a figment of our imagination. Religion created Satan, which is the Satan. The Satan is the accuser, literally in Hebrew. They created a logical Satan, a person, a being, out of the Greek god Hades. And Hades translates to like Loki in Norse mythology. It's the same thing. And this guy was supposed to be the tormentor or the accuser of the brethren. Y'all, listen. The accuser of the brethren is religion. The devil, there is no, first of all, there is no devil to accuse anything. And again, watch this. People say, well, the devil is God's messenger boy, that he does God's will so that God's will, his ultimate plan, can be fulfilled. And again, bullshit. Here's the deal. They say all that, but there is no devil to do God's bidding. Listen to this. If God is a great parent, and we have to conclude that he is, God is an awesome parent. He has given us everything that we need. It's like everything that exists for life, godliness, for profit, for enjoyment and entertainment, everything he put everything here. He baked it all in from the beginning, right? So this, what you're saying now, if you believe that Satan somehow does God's will, that he executes God's dirty work, if you will, then what you're saying is that it's like a parent who will turn their child over to a known pervert or child molester for the purpose of disciplining them. That makes absolutely no damn sense. It just absolutely doesn't. And anybody that tells you that, man, they're just absolutely full of it. Listen, I've already said I don't believe that there is a hell because it's inconsistent with the nature and the character of God. God is love. Love would not torture. And again, it's one thing for God to love his children, okay, the saved folks. But let's say he didn't love the unsaved, right? And so if he doesn't love the unsaved, then his love is not perfect. Because perfect love excludes no one. Perfect love wants to hurt no one. Perfect love wants to curse no one. And perfect love wants to torment no one. So here's the thing. If you believe that God loves these folks but hates these folks, then you have to come to the conclusion that his love is not perfect. And if his love is not perfect, then you, my friend, and we have no hope at all. Period. Full stop. So, this is the deal. Religion is the devil. John 10:10, he said, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I've come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. And he also said in John 10, prior to that, he said that all who have come before me are thieves and robbers. Who came before Jesus? Religion. Religion in its many flavors. Religion separated the Jews from the Samaritans, even though they were the same people. Religion separated Isaac from Ishmael. Religion separated the Jews from the Babylonians and whomever, the Egyptians and whomever else. Religion separated all of these things, and then religion set forth. Watch this. One of my favorite stories in Scripture is that the prophet Samuel told Saul to go and slay the Amalekites, and he told him to kill all of them, down to the babies, down to the suckling children, and for you pro-lifers out there, he told them to cut the babies out of the womb of the pregnant women. Now, and if you look at it like that, that seems like God ordered abortion. I'm just saying. But anyway, he tells Saul to do all of this. Now, fast forward to Jesus in Luke chapter 9. And James and John want to call down fire from heaven to consume the Samaritans because they didn't want to accommodate Jesus. And Jesus said, you know not what spirit you're of. You have to catch how deep that statement really is. Because if that is the spirit of destruction, because he said, do you want us to call down fire from heaven like Elijah did? That means that the fire that Elijah called down from heaven couldn't have been from God. Not seeing it through the lens of Jesus. And if any time in history that God was justified in pouring out his wrath is at the time that his son was viciously murdered by the collaboration or the collusion of the Jews and the Romans, and he didn't, then you have to go back and look at, well, did God really tell Samuel that? Was he giving Saul the right instruction? See, that's the thing. See, religion will also try to stand on its own authority. It's self-authorizing. And they'll say, that we should do this because God commands it. Well, God doesn't command that. If God is love, God is not commanding killing. If God is love, God is not commanding separation. If God is love, God is not commanding segregation. God doesn't do that. People talk about just wars and holy wars and the divine right of kings even. God just ordained this person to be king. No, that person became king through conquest. It wasn't with the consent of everybody. This person just kind of figured out how to manipulate a whole bunch of people. That's how kingdoms were built on earth. Make no mistake about it. So all of this, right? God tells Saul to do this, but if you look at it through the lens of Jesus, when he says, you know not what spirit you're of, to James and John who wanted to call down fire from heaven, then you have to conclude that somebody else told Samuel to tell Saul that. Or maybe Samuel just got bullied by the Amalekites when he was a kid, and he just figured, hey, I'm empowered now, so I'll just wipe them out because I've anointed this king. You see how that works? Religion is your enemy. And I'm not saying, it's like where we said, where Jesus was saying to love our enemies, he was talking about people. He wasn't talking about systems. You have every right to hate a system. And I'm going to give you one to hate, and that's this one: religion. Hate it. Hate it. I'm telling you, I said this last Sunday, that if I had my way, I would drive a stake through the heart of religion, lop its head off, and then burn it down to the ground. I mean, nothing but a black spot on the pavement where religion once stood. I mean, I want to see that shit burned to the ground, honestly. And you should too. Now, let me wrap up by bringing in Paul, because we have to bring Paul into the discussion, right? Paul said, "For it was given to me a thorn in my flesh, the messenger of Satan, which was sent to buffet me, lest I become full of myself." I'm paraphrasing. So Paul says that this thorn in the flesh was a messenger. Now, if you go back into the Old Testament, every time you looked at where we're talked about thorns, other than thorns and thistles in the garden, and I actually believe that was talking about people too, it was always talking about people. People who, they were thorns in the sides, thorns in the eyes, thorns, and they were thorns. They were people that were problematic to God's chosen folks. So Paul said it was a thorn in the flesh given to me, the messenger of Satan. So watch this. The messenger had to be somebody, because sickness is not a messenger. Plagues and all this stuff, that's not a messenger. God, listen, sicknesses don't send messages to people. People do. God empowers people with the ability to speak, to convey a message. So this person had a message from a message, or he was a messenger of a system. And he said, the messenger of Satan. The Satan, again, is the accuser. Who is the accuser? The accuser is religion. And religion derives its power from a misunderstanding of everything that is written. And as a matter of fact, that a lot of what is written was probably rewritten. And because if you believe that the Bible was written without an agenda, I got some swampland and a huge, beautiful freaking bridge to sell you in the Everglades. the people had an agenda, and so if you don't believe that, again, I really can't help you. But this messenger of the Satan is a mindset. It is an accusatory mindset. It is the mindset that makes you believe that you're something that you're not. Or it makes you believe that you're not something that you really are. It is the mindset that makes you believe that you are not like God. It's the mindset that makes you believe that you are not healed. It's the mindset that makes you believe that you are not delivered. It's the mindset that makes you believe that you are impoverished. It's the mindset that makes you believe that you're dying. It's the mindset that makes you believe that you need to shut off the borders so that people can't come in. It is that mindset. It is the mindset that makes you believe that, well, if someone is shot in the back, well, they were a criminal. They had it coming. That is the mindset. And that is the religious mindset. And this messenger that buffeted Paul was a messenger of that mindset. And again, you can slice and dice that any way you was religion. Religion has stolen from humanity, it has killed humanity, and it has tried to destroy humanity. I was looking at there's a TV series on Amazon called The Boys, and it's about a band of superheroes who are, they're basically assholes, right? But what this one guy who is called Homelander, he decides that he's going to manufacture an enemy. Because see, these people they have superpowers, and I'm not going to tell you how they got their superpowers, but Homelander, knowing how they got their powers, decided to help somebody else out so that he'd have an enemy to fight. And that, my friends, is religion in a nutshell. Religion creates enemies, or it manufactures them. It takes what it has, which is only misinformation, and uses it to create silos and walls and fences and division between humanity. And there you have it. If you look at something, I'm going to tell you, if you see division, if you see, basically instructions and demands of obedience and demands of accountability, if you see all of those things, listen, run, Forrest, run. Get out. Get out, because it's not of God and it's not for you. Religion is the greatest enemy that mankind has devised against itself. See, and that's the really scary truth, that religion is an enemy that we manufactured. But guess what? Because it only exists in our minds, all we have to do is change our minds. And as my friend Kyle Butler is wont to say, thinking is good. So if we just think about these things and renew our minds, change the way we think about it, guess what? Religion dies. And I'm going to tell you something. Religion is running scared right now because it knows it is being unmasked, and the bullshit game that it has run on people, that it's run its course. And with that being said, I just want you to know that you are loved, you are valued, God loves you, and so do I. And I hope you have an absolutely fabulous rest of your Friday and an absolutely wonderful weekend. Peace.